just this past weekend, someone was asking me about wanting to launch a spirit in a different category. I would tell them first, I'm happy to share my knowledge. Some of these guys and these athletes, entertainers, they have like amazing, loyal followings, with millions and millions and tens of millions of followers. So it's kind of, I guess it kind of depends on on the situation what they're in. When I look at brands like that, I just look and see, is it this first, is a celebrity that I like, is what they're doing, does it align with what I think would align with at least my vision of that person, or what I would think, does it align? The ones that seem to have the best success have a good product behind it, and it seems like a good fit.
To the Liquid Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Monte Burrow. Today I'm excited to have with me the man, the myth, the legend, none other than Mr. Alan Henderson of Henderson Spirits Group. What's up, sir?
Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate you having me on here. Excited to join your podcast.
Yeah. Well, I've been looking forward to this. I've been watching your movements from afar, especially as one of the few in the out space that are really really trying to do some of that heavy lifting, and you were on my catch up list, so I'm
Okay,
glad we were able to get some time to catch up.
for sure.
I think the last time we actually saw each other physically in the same space was a few months ago in Detroit. Was it? In Detroit.
Yeah, it probably was. Maybe Taste of Black Spirits.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that was
could have
it.
been.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think
Yeah,
that was
I
it.
think so. Yeah.
Well, so how things have been? How have things been? Where are you these days? Where are you located?
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. Actually, we came back here. It's my hometown. We've been back here probably about 10 years now. So
Yeah.
we're based out of here, but of course, I'm traveling everywhere from here to going to visit accounts and meet with distributors and all that kind of stuff. But Indianapolis is the home base.
Home base. No, were you born and raised in Indy?
I was raised in Indy, not born. I was actually born
Uh,
in West Virginia, lived in
mm.
Cleveland for a minute, and then we came to Indy when I was probably 7 or something like that. So really, it's what most of my memories growing up are. We're here in Indianapolis. Yep.
And I know we're going to get to this shortly, but I'm gonna fast forward for a quick. I'm gonna fast forward many years, and then we'll go back many years. But
hmm
you played for IU, right?
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I brought that up, and we'll come back to that. But I'm originally from Baltimore,
Okay.
and I didn't go to Maryland, but the University of Maryland and Indiana always. Well, I'm not gonna say it was a long storied past, but it was a period of time where I was actually spending a lot of time in Indiana.
Hmm.
And that one year when, goodness, I don't remember the year, but there was a year when they played, Indiana played Maryland in the championship game, I think it was, or it was the Final Four, the championship game. I was in
Oh
Indy.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
they played in. Was that with Juan Dixon and those guys?
yes, that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah. I think that was down in Atlanta. That Final Four.
Yes,
Yep. Yeah, I was there
I
too. Yep.
I was in Indy during that
Oh, in
game, and
Indy.
I had
Okay.
on all types of Maryland stuff. And I didn't even go to Maryland. I'm from Maryland, so I was talking all kind of smack. So I'm glad I was able to make it out of there. But we'll revisit all that in a minute.
That's funny.
Good, good stuff. So talk to me, man. So tell me a little bit about life growing up in Indy.
Yeah. So growing up in Indy, man, it was good. I was one of 3 kids. And as a kid, it's all you know, so you just enjoy it and you make the best of it. It was, it's back in the time when kids still played outside. You didn't really want to be inside. We were outside as much as possible, running around the neighborhood, riding bikes, playing games, figure sports, any kind of sport. Football, baseball, basketball, made up games. Just whatever, just to be outside. Uh, yeah, so it was good. It was good memories doing that. Played all kind of sports growing up. Uh, and then when I got older, I just started focusing on basketball only. But really, I probably say when I was younger, my favorite sport was baseball. I was really into baseball, watching baseball games, and watched a lot of Cubs on TV. Played, collected cards, which I wish I knew where they were. I probably got some good ones in there if I could ever find a box. But uh, yeah, so that was it was fun. Just a lot of good times growing up. Good memories.
Now, people can't tell from the video, but Alan is. Well, how tall are you, Alan?
I'm 6'9".
So that hint for those who don't know and for those who may be listening to this and not viewing it, that gravity towards basketball. I'm sure some of it had to do with height, but a lot of it was skill and interest as well. Was Did you think that you would eventually? Were there any ambitions to become a professional athlete when you were younger, or was it not even in your line of sight back then?
I mean, when I was younger, not really. It was just I was just having fun, whatever season it was, football, baseball, basketball, just played and tried to do
Yeah.
the best you could in it. But by the time I got to, I'd say, I think I was 13. Yeah, I was 13 when I decided, okay, I think I can do this. And what happened was I went to my first national tournament with the team from Indiana. So we were playing the guys from all over the country, and I got there, and we were playing against guys like uh, Chris Webber, uh, Jamal Mashburn. I think Jalen Rose was there, Grant Hill. It was just a bunch of guys from just all over the country, and there was, at the top of our age group,
Yeah.
and I was more than hanging in there. I was handling my business just like they were. So we got done with the tournament. We actually lost to Grant Hill's team. It was a Potomac
Mm.
Valley team on the last second shot in the championship, and but I made the All American team and all that. So my confidence was riding high, and I left there thinking, man, if I can do this against these guys who are supposed to be the best in my age group, if I can just keep growing and keep working and developing, I should have a shot. So really, it was after that summer, after exposure to those guys and playing against that talent, where I said, you know what, I think I can do it, and I made it a goal to just keep trying to get better and better. And fortunately, I kept growing, and it helped me. And but I definitely kept working at it, and I felt like I could had the confidence that I had a shot after that summer when I was 13.
So you ended up going to. We talked about this a few minutes ago. You ended up going to play at Indiana.
Hmm.
What did you major while you were playing?
Yeah, I went to Indiana, actually majored in biology. I thought I was going to be a doctor. That was really what I said. I'm majored in biology. I can be a doctor. I can control that. Whatever happens with basketball, I don't know how it's going to go. But I said I always thought I could do something in the medical field. So I majored in biology because of that. I just never knew what was going to happen with basketball. Didn't know how good I was going to be. Well, was I going to be healthy enough? Could injuries sideline that? All that kind of stuff. So I tried to take control at least as far as that went. So I did get my biology degree. Ended up applied to a few medical schools, and
Really?
got invited to interview at some of them. And it was funny. I was talking with Coach Knight, and I gave him a list of schools. I was like, oh, I'm looking at Connecticut and Howard and Indiana. He was like, oh, wait, which one's the closest? He's like, Indiana. He said, okay, you can go on that interview because this was all happening during the season. He was like, no,
Right.
you're not flying over the country doing interviews for this. He said, you can drive up to Indianapolis and take that interview. So that was only interview I actually went to, and I did get in Indiana University Medical School. So yeah.
Where did that passion come from for going down that field? Was anyone in your family, any close friends?
Oh yeah, yeah. My dad was a cardiologist, so I grew up watching him, and he had an uncle that was a physician in Indianapolis before even he had got here. So I think it's just watching them and seeing what they were able to do and how they enjoyed it, and were able to impact the community and also provide for their families, and he just really loved what he did. So just looking
Yeah.
up to my dad, it was one of those things where I was like, man, maybe I'll just go try to be like my dad. So that was
Yeah.
definitely the main inspiration.
Well, I don't think you chose wrong. Or to be honest with you, I don't think you could have chosen wrong either path you went down. But
Hmm.
so you ended up following the ball.
Yep. Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about that. How did your career develop? Where did you first go to
Sure.
play? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So at Indiana, we had some really good teams. Went to the Final Four my freshman year. We went to the Sweet 16 a few times, Elite Eight. So we had some good runs. Had played with a lot of good players, and other guys ended up getting drafted too. I played with three other first round draft picks: Calbert Cheney, Greg Graham, Brian Evans, and so we had some good teams. I was learning from Coach Knight, who was a basketball genius, had a unorthodox way of doing his thing, but we learned a lot from him. So after that, uh, well, through that, actually, I had a bad knee injury my sophomore year. I didn't know what was going to happen with that. I had tore my ACL, but was able to come back from that and just able to finish with a few strong years. I ended up getting drafted to the Atlanta Hawks. I was the 16th pick in the first round to the Atlanta Hawks, and that's where it all started. And stayed there actually for most of my career.
So cool. So you started off, had a lot of first rounders with you, had a lot of inspiration. I'm sure a lot of opportunities and a lot of different things came in front of you. Were there any thoughts early on in your career of, okay, what happens when I'm done, or was that never in your line of sight? 'Cause I know a
Yeah,
lot of athletes and celebrities don't tend to look at the future.
yeah.
Were you always looking ahead, regardless
I
of
was
what it would
always
be?
Yeah, I was always trying to look ahead. It is hard because you always think you can play another year. I can play a few more years. I can keep going, but everybody plays their last game at some point. So, but as a young fella, it's hard to see that far ahead. Uh, but I did see even on my first contract, they held my spot at medical school for a couple years because I kept telling them, "Hold on, let me see how this is going to work out. Just hold my spot for another year. Okay, one more year." Then after like my third year, I was like, "Okay, I'm good. I'm just going to play." But no, I was always thinking about it and what I was going to do next, and I knew I always wanted to stay busy. And I mean, even when I was playing, we were doing. I was looking into doing different things, different entrepreneurial things. Uh, yeah, because you just can't play forever. So we were in Atlanta at a time. It was right there. I got there right before the Olympics, and then through the Olympics and all the growth afterwards, and uh, the music scene was going crazy. We had a recording studio down there. We had a independent music label. Put a record out. We sold 100,000 records with CDs with one of our artists. So I always had something going on. Then we had a lot of great talent coming through our recording studio recording. So it was a fun time, but also a time where I was able to start kind of exercising my entrepreneurial skills and learning and trying to figure out what that looked like. So yeah, so I was always trying different things. I knew I couldn't play forever.
So you just threw me the alley oop, no pun intended. So
All
we
right.
typically go down the unbeaten path on this podcast,
Mm,
and you brought up the music connection.
mm.
Who are your top five, Alan?
Who are my top five? Man, that's a tough one there. My top five. I'd probably say, um, if we're going just straight hip hop, I'm just going to give you my top five. It'd be Jay Z, Big, Eric B, Eric B and Rakim, Nas. Oh man, that last spot's a
The
tough one.
fifth one is always the
The
hardest
last
one.
one, the last one's a tough one. I think I go Tupac.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
not bad, not
yeah.
bad.
But we love music, and we were always uh, we had a couple artists. We had artists actually. We signed to Def Jam. We put out, like I said, we put the independent ones.
Yeah,
We were all in it. That's for sure. And some of the guys, it's funny. Some of the guys that work with me have gone on to have just some uh, great careers in the music industry.
yeah.
My partner that I started with, Malcolm Thompson's got a great publishing company going now called Open on Sundays. They have a buy big publishing catalogs and are doing great work in that. And then actually our first employee in our A&R who was just ahead of his time and how he managed artists and knew and just kind of could relate to the artists and figure out how to put them in positions to win is Kevin Lee. So he's gone on just do great things. Coach K with the quality control has done just amazing in the industry. So it's kind of neat to see uh, where people went after our little start at Hindu Entertainment.
So why not music?
Yeah, it's funny. We had it going, and then I got traded. I was in Atlanta for 9 years, and then I
Mm,
got traded to Dallas. And it was around that time when the studio business was kind of transitioning. People were starting to do
mm,
more. The Pro Tools and the computer you're able to do more, and you didn't have to come to the studio unless you wanted to do some things. We still had an analog room with the reels where people could get that real warm, authentic R&B feel, especially. And then we also had a digital room, but people were doing more and more digitally on their laptops and their own little setups at home. So we weren't as busy as we had been. And then at that time, um, our artist who we had signed to Def Jam, his deal ran into a couple of hiccups getting his album out, and I was away, and I was like, you know what, maybe it's a good time just to transition out, and we just figure out what's next. But it was definitely a enjoyable and a learning experience running a business for the first time, and everything that entails. Yeah.
So running a business, it seemed to be fun, exciting. It seems like you had some pretty good success in it. It ran its course.
Yep.
When did your NBA career actually end?
My last season was 2006, 2007. I ended with the
Uh,
Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers.
That was my last team, and it's funny, you never know. I felt like I maybe could have played another year or two, but my body
Mm,
was starting to ache, and it's taking longer to recover, start longer to feel better, not quite jumping as
yeah.
high as it used to. Just little things starting to happen. So, but it's funny. I got drafted. I was talking to someone about this not too long ago. When I got drafted, the draft was in Toronto. It was the first year for the Toronto Raptors. So the draft was in Toronto, and then my last game I played with Philly was in Toronto. So it's like I started
Wow.
in Toronto and finished in Toronto. So it was kind of cool how it came full circle
Yeah.
like that.
Full
Yeah.
circle.
Yep.
That that's really
Hmm.
cool, right?
Hmm.
So NBA career, great career, moving on to big and better things.
Hmm.
Was spirits ever in that thought process around that time you were looking to do what's next?
Not really.
No.
Um, we had other things going. We had some Smoothie King restaurant,
Mm.
quick service uh, establishments in Indianapolis area and in the airport, and so we had that going. We uh, we had a medical supply company we tried. So it was just different things.
Yeah.
I was just trying different things, and but no, spirits really wasn't on the radar. And the first time I even thought about spirits, I had some classmates from IU that were starting a liqueur, and
Mm.
they had me look at it and ask me, if I wanted to think about participating with them. And I started looking at the business and started learning a little bit more about the numbers and economics and just how it works just from a legal standpoint. Like how does
Mm-hmm.
this work? Oh, okay, you have distributors. Okay, I get it. Okay, you have to get the permits. All right. So just learn like that. But ultimately, I didn't invest in that product. But that was my first exposure to it. Um, but I think after that, I was excited. Not I think I was excited about the industry after looking at it, and I was like, yeah, maybe there's something here. And I'm gonna keep thinking about that to see if there's something that comes in my head where there's a way for me to do something impactful uh, in the industry. So that's kind of that is definitely where I got the first inclination to look at spirits.
And so you get a bit of exposure, you do a little bit of research,
Hmm.
a little bit of homework. Um, what made you think? Let me kind of put two layers to that.
Hmm.
What made you think about jumping back into that space as a potential
Hmm.
opportunity, and how much time passed from the time from that first venture that was
Hmm.
in the space to the time you said, you know what, I'm going to go give this a try?
Yeah, I would say probably 2 or 3 years. They probably
Mm-hmm.
at least a couple years were in between that. And I just kept looking, and the more I kept looking, I kept seeing the spaces, and I started paying more attention to what was on the shelves, what I'm looking at in the stores, and I just kept seeing stuff that looked the same and telling similar stories and gray-haired white man and this story about this moonshine. I'm like, man, and this product. I was like, now some of these products are good. I'm not saying they're not good and they don't taste good. Like I have some on my bar, but I'm like, there's got to be some more stories out there, and there's got to be room to have diverse companies and diverse suppliers, and everybody have a little bit of space in this. And I just was trying to figure out how could I do that. And it was 2015 uh, when I really said, you know what, I'm going to do something. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something. So I convinced my wife to let me buy. I think the first thing I bought was I think 25 barrels of bourbon. She was like, "What are you going to do with it?" I was like, "I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it, but we'll figure it out." And I said, it's good bourbon. Worst case scenario, we'll sell it and lick our wounds and go do something else. So I convinced her that if everything went bad, there was going to be a market for it. So I think that's what made her say, okay, go ahead and get your bourbon and then keep figuring it out. So that's how it started. Yeah.
Wow. So 25 barrels of bourbon,
Hmm.
but no real plan of
No
attack.
plan. No
That
plan of no plan of attack. I had my I had got my basic permit, my importer
yeah.
permit. So I'd done that and got the bourbon. I'm like, all right. I knew I wanted to find stories. I hadn't quite found the stories, but I said, let me just get the bourbon. Let me get a head start on it, and let me see what happens as I go down this path of trying to find some stories and really try to build some brands um, that I think would resonate. So yeah, that's how it started.
I like that because a lot of times people can overplan. Was it analysis paralysis? You can
Hmm.
overplan, overplan. Now there is a level of maybe we do have to do some level of planning, but
Yes.
sometimes that level of commitment forces you to do the work that you need to do
Hmm.
in order to make it work. Do
Hmm.
you think that's kind of a theme throughout your life? Is you know what? Let me try, and I'll figure it out later.
Oh, I don't know if I don't know. It's definitely let me try. It's
Mm,
definitely I feel like I can do it, but it also is
that's a
always precipitated by some sort of
yeah,
research, some
yeah.
sort of safety to it. With the studio,
Mm-hmm,
we're like, okay, if everything goes bad, we sell our equipment. Okay, we'll lose
mm-hmm,
some, but okay, that's the worst case. Okay, I'll get these barrels of bourbon. If I end up not using it, they're going to be worth more than they were in 3 or 4 years. They'll be worth more than they were now, and no harm done. So it's kind of, it wasn't, I don't think I would go anything recklessly, but I definitely went into it without a fully fleshed out plan. But I did have an exit strategy if I could never establish my plan. So I guess I would say that. And but so I started just thinking. I said, I know what I like to support. I like to support brands with stories. I'm drawn to that. I like to talk about them with the people I'm enjoying, whether it's food or I mean anything with the story, clothes, anything with a good story. I'm just more attracted to that brand. And so I set out. That's when I decided I was going to go find some stories and build brands around them. So then at that point, uh, I had my direction.
how did that brand building actually take place? Was this jumping on YouTube, doing a little bit of Googling? Did you have some people to talk to? How did you even go about doing that research?
It was a lot of reading. It was a lot of just um, Googling. It was reading even professors that were writing on spirits history or African Americans involved in spirits or African Americans in moonshining, African Americans in liquor, just anything I could find to start researching it and then finding out about, you know, um, reading about the Pullman cars and mixologists and on there and how we worked on there and just different, all kind of different stories kept leading me different places and then finally I found uh, just these stories that I was just amazed by, and that's when I said, okay, I have some stories here that I can work with, and I'm gonna build the brands around these. When I found the Birdie Brown story, for example, who's uh, African American, my first brand, Birdie Brown, the African American woman who homesteaded out in Montana in the early 1900s. She grew her own grains, distilled her own liquor, had her own parlor, and I'm thinking when I'm reading this, I'm like, hold on, I didn't even know that African Americans homesteaded like that, let alone a lady by herself. And so then that took me down more research, reading about homesteading and how that process and how we homestead at such a smaller percentage than anyone else. But we did go out sometimes in settlements together and sometimes all the way out in places where you wouldn't expect, like Montana. So it's just one of those things where I said, what, I gotta tell this. I'm gonna try to tell this story, and that's kind of how that came about. Just yeah, a lot of googling, looking, trying to find out stories are out there that I could work with. And same with Tom Bullock's. That's how that came to. I found he was the first African American to get a cocktail book published at a time when you had to get a white person to write your introduction. I said, man, that's pretty impressive. Uh, so I just worked with that brand and wanted to figure out, and then I just had to figure out, okay, how do I make this a great product, not just a great story, but how to make sure I have a great product in the bottle to go along with this story and just kind of then it all just slowly came together. Keyword slowly came together. So yeah.
So those barrels, eventually
Mhm.
would turn into a brand. Was Tom Bullock's the first brand?
Um, they were kind of being developed neck and neck. The first brand
Okay.
that hit the market was actually Birdie Brown.
Oh, okay.
It was
Okay.
Birdie Brown. The plain hooch, because it was unaged, we were able to get that one out first, and
Hmm.
then we actually with Tom Bullock's, which is a whole nother part of business and learning, which has to dealing with the IP and the trademarks and all that kind of stuff. We had a situation where someone was trying to uh, take our Tom Bullock's trademark, so we had to deal with
Mm.
that situation, and that delayed that just a little bit. So yeah, so Birdie Brown was the first to the market, and then about about a year and a half later, Tom Bullock's came out.
So when Birdie Brown first hit that market, was it success right away? Like bam, off to the races.
Yeah, I wish it was. You know what happened when Birdie Brown first came out? Everything shut down. It was spring of 2020. We had just, I mean, RNDC had just got their first order. It was just get a system to get to stores, and then everything just changed. And so, no, it was not a smooth launch. I'll say that for sure. Uh, no, not at all.
Everybody thinks that you can create a product, it looks great, it tastes great, and you're off to the races. It
Yeah.
rarely ever happens that way.
hmm
What did you learn about yourself and the from your first steps in the into the alcohol space? What did you learn from that experience launching that brand?
Well, just learned that it's really hard. It makes it a lot harder to sell if you can't get in front of people to tell the story and they can't
Mm-hmm.
taste it before they buy it. We pretty much were relying on just e-commerce sales and people taking a chance through our e-commerce provider. Fortunately, we were set up and able to do that, so that helped. But um, yeah, it made me realize, and still I think how important and how effective getting like they say liquid to lips, getting people to really try it and being able to taste it is really just a great uh, way to sell it. I think I also learned that as an entrepreneur, you just got to be ready for anything. You never know what's going to happen. It's going to be a long journey, like you said. It's rare that it just skyrockets. Maybe for some people that hasn't been my experience. It's just about continuing to work, uh, put the good work behind it, and spread the word one customer at a time, and just keep trying to build that community behind it. Um, yeah, so I think that's what I learned that it's going to take patience.
Yeah. Was it just you in the beginning? Did you have any partners?
No, it's just me.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I talk about a lot of times. A lot of times I'm talking to somebody. We do this and we did that, or we're in this. The we is me. You know, and actually the we is still me. But I do have some people that I contract with in different places to help me with some sales or um, different areas of the business. Just we got our first bookkeeper and just things like that where I contract out. But as far as full time employees right now, it's just me. But hopefully um, hopefully that's going to change before too long.
So basketball, no matter how great the athlete is, it's
hmm
always the team playing off each other, right?
hmm
Same in business, but a lot of startups like ours
hmm
typically have very few people involved. And you just mentioned that
hmm
when you started, it was just you.
Yep.
What was that learning curve like? So not only are you learning a new space,
hmm
you're learning it and you're doing it by yourself.
hmm
Like so was that the same process? Were you just learning on the fly? Where did you have any mentors? And like if you're thinking about people who are trying to break into this
hmm
industry, any advice around how to how to come up in that space if it is just you?
Yes, it was hard, but I would anytime I had a chance to pick somebody's brain, I would. And there was a gentleman from Indianapolis, and he and some partners. I think one's from Texas, one from North Carolina. They had a moonshine called Steel Moon, and he allowed me to pick his brain. He was just really helpful. They were maybe a year or so ahead of me. They were in the market, so he allowed me to ask him so many different questions. He was really um, helpful, and I think I remember that when people come and ask me, I'm always try to share what I can with them. Um, because a lot of it's just basic stuff, not like it's trade secrets. It's just basically, yeah, you need a distributor. Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
need a permit. Like stuff, just little things to help. He was good, and also gave me the confidence, that I can do this. And so I think that was helpful. But it was also a lot of just calling, and if I could get a hold of somebody, asking questions, and but it was through that process where my company mission, where I developed my company's mission is to diversify the bar, because the people I was primarily talking to or trying to pick their brain, distributors, alcohol lawyers, distillers, bottlers, glass manufacturers. Like, it was rare that I was talking to minorities, and I didn't think that made sense to me. Knowing how much we support the industry, knowing how talented we are, knowing that uh, there's so many bottles on the bars and in the stores, and just the industry should have more room for us. So that's kind of where that came from. But yeah, it was hard, and I made mistakes. You know, I'd never been in the business before, and I remember I remember the first labels we printed for Birdie Brown. They came up, and all the UPCs were wrong. I was
Oh,
like, oh my goodness. And I was talking to the designer, and he's like, well, you're supposed to check that. I said, yeah, I thought I had checked it, but I didn't know you just put a random one in. It was, it was for some random company that another one that he'd worked on. I didn't know that. Yeah.
wow.
But I'll tell you one thing, I will never not check a UPC ever again. Like, over and over, I'm on it. But so, but we figured it out. We ordered some
Yeah.
stickers and put the stickers over it and kept it moving. But, plenty mistakes were made, and but try not to make those mistakes again, and just kept on learning, kept on asking, and then was able to meet folks like yourself who have just industry knowledge, and participate in some different cohorts, and listen to other people and just little tidbits, and bother them offline about some questions I had, and all that, and slowly start to learn more, and learn the industry better, and figure out how to move the company forward. So uh, still have a lot to learn, but I feel like I've learned an awful lot. And yeah, so it's just me, hopefully soon to be we. But I always tell people, and I've had people ask me about investing in the company, and to that point, I've always wanted to make sure if I took some investment, it was somebody that was going to bring some strategic expertise to the table. Otherwise, it's just more money and me talking to myself more, to make to figure it out. And I'm like, it'd be nice to have somebody to bring a different perspective from their experience in the industry. So yeah, it's just me, and that's been, it's been hard. I've been grinding, but I've been learning and trying to keep it moving.
Strategic capital is so important because it's what keeps the wheels moving. Um,
Hmm.
where when so when what was that one moment or that aha moment for you that made you realize that this was the right pivot for me? Was there anything that happened with the brand or the brands that finally gave you that sense of I am definitely in the right place?
I think it's just the I think it was just accumulation of being able to be in front of people, letting them taste it, telling these stories, seeing them buy it, and then having them tell me I bought it and I bought it again. And I'm sharing it with this person. I'm enjoying this one. I'm enjoying that spirit, or this is my favorite one. My dad likes this one, or my wife like. Just hearing that you'll be able to be part of people's lives, and especially part of their experiences, and a lot of celebrations, or uh, times in their fellowship and with their people. And I don't know, it just feels good, and they enjoy learning about the stories. People take different things from them, different motivation from them, or and see different things in the story that speaks to them in different areas. And I think I've just been enjoying that, And then when you start to get the reorders, and you're like, okay, maybe I'm onto something here, That's when and I think that's when you feel like, okay, I got people are buying it. I'm getting requests for more stores and more states, um, and you're doing this all organically, and it's got a lot of word of mouth and not a lot of advertising, and no paid influencers or any of that, all that kind of stuff. It's just one person at a time, one drink at a time, just slowly building. And and then you do start to have people kind of inquire, hey, what are you doing? Are you thinking about, what are your next steps? How can we help you? Can we get involved? It's like, so once you get some things going, you do have some people looking to try to see how they could be a part of it to help take you to another level. So I think when that starts happening and you see your customers enjoying it, I think you kind of know you're on the right track, but still, a long way to go and a lot more points of distribution to get in.
That's the perfect level of focus that you need to have and the level of understanding you need. What do you think has been the biggest challenges for you? Whether it's distillation, whether it's working with distributors, whether it's getting exposure, advertise. What do you think has been the biggest challenge so far?
Oh boy, I'd say that's a couple things. I'd say one is a small company not being able to have our own dedicated salesperson in every market we want to be in. Uh, I think that's just been hard because we just can't afford to do it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just we just can't do it. But I know that eventually, hopefully, we'll get to that point. Um, that's been hard, but we're doing the best we can, utilizing some shared resources, and and we're doing the best we can with that. But so that's been hard, wanting to have that kind of reach and not being able to, and knowing you can't quite fund that yet. That's one thing. You know, during COVID, there were some glass issues.
Mm-hmm.
Some glass was a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but for the most part, my providers have been really good to work with and have really been responsive to what I needed. Um, I'd say one of the big things now, especially with since our Tom Bullock product, we use a 4 year bourbon, and then our straight wheat whiskey and the Birdie Brown is a 3 year. Uh, One of the hardest things there is just putting that cash into those products, knowing that it's just going to sit there for 3 or 4 years, and you just have to wait. I mean, it's a big investment, and you're waiting and not getting any kind of return on that at that time. And then you're also trying to project ahead that, hey, if things keep going well, I'm going to need even more. So then you really need to be putting more and more away, which is just a lot of, it's a lot of cash to invest in that. I think that's uh, one of the hardest parts about the industry when you're dealing with, especially dealing with anything age, is just that investment, and while you wait. So yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of areas I'd say that are hard. I don't think it's an easy business, and I'm not sure there is such a thing as an easy business. I think every business has its own challenges, no matter what the category is. If that's the case, everybody would just get into the easy one and try to
Yeah.
make it there. If that was the case, but they're all hard. It's all there's always something to deal with and something to learn. But I would say those are some of the challenges that I see. It's that, can you get people on the ground? Can you keep your supply coming? Um, and then to your point, you mentioned, how do you let people know about it? How do people know it's there, so they can be familiar with it when they're going to the stores or to their restaurants and bars, and so they know to request it or know to look at it. And because advertising is expensive, it's even uh, it's harder being when you're only able to advertise. You're trying to target the 21 and over, the legal drinking age, and so you can't do certain things. And um, so yeah, there's still a lot to learn, but we'll keep on trying to figure it out. Yeah.
So with the advent of celebrity brands,
Hmm.
a lot of people have various levels of, yeah, this is a great idea, to this is horrible. What are you doing? If you had a player come up to you and say, Alan, I see what you're doing over here, and I'm just into the league and I'm just getting started, and I got 1 million Instagram followers and I'm this all star, yada, yada, yada. I think I want to get into that business. What would you tell them?
That's funny you said that, because I actually, just this past weekend, someone was asking me about um, wanting to launch a spirit in a different category, and um, I would tell him first, I'm happy to share my knowledge. Like, I'll share what I can to inform you, so you can kind of, in the end, make your own decision if it's something that you want to do or you feel good about doing. Uh, it's so hard to say, because some of these guys and these athletes, entertainers, they have like amazing loyal followings, with millions and millions and tens of millions of followers. So it's kind of, I guess it kind of depends on on the situation what they're in. But uh, when I look at brands like that, I just look and see, is it this first, is a celebrity that I like, is what they're doing, does it align with what I think would align with at least my vision of that person, or what I would think, does it align, and then is it a really good product? And then if it is, you know, I mean, you've seen many have, a lot of success, and the ones that seem to have the best success have a good product behind it, and it seems like a good fit, and it seemed like a good fit with their persona. So, um, I would just try to give the information and encourage them to do their research, and I'm not want to talk anybody out of their dreams, and I mean, hey, people are doing it and people are blowing it up. So if it's something you feel like you could do it, yeah, I wouldn't talk about it, but I would just try to just share it, just be as honest as I could about my journey.
Admirable, admirable. All right, so there's a final game that we love to play on the podcast, and it's called
Mm-mm.
Here is one of my favorites. All right, so here is
Okay.
one of my favorites. So it doesn't have to be the absolute, but one
Hmm.
of. All right,
Hmm.
here is one of my favorite brands, and it doesn't have to be an alcohol brand, any type of brand. Here's one of my favorite brands,
Nike.
Nike. Here is one of my favorite songs.
It's a hard knock life, Jay Z.
Here is one of my favorite places to travel.
Nassau.
Are the ties between you and Nassau?
No,
Family? No.
no, just some good times had.
Good man. Okay.
Yeah.
Here is one of my favorite basketball memories.
Mm. Favorite basketball memories. Wow. I'd say probably playing in the Final Four. Getting a chance to do that.
Here is one of my favorite movies.
Favorite movies. That's a tough one. What would I say is my favorite movie? Man, you kind of stumped me on that one. Favorite
That's okay.
movie. What would I say is my favorite movie? Um, Boomerang.
Boomerang. Oh, that's a classic. That is
Yeah,
definitely a classic. That is a classic. You got to coordinate.
yeah, you can watch that one over and over. I almost said Friday. That was one. That was another one. That was another one. I wore the. That was back VHS days. I wore my VHS out on that one. So,
Another classic.
yeah.
Here's one of my favorite things about my brand. You can either refer to Birdie Brown or to Tom Bullocks, but here's one of my favorite things about my brand.
One of my favorite things about them is that we're showing people that African Americans can do anything. We have done everything, and we've had our hands in everything since the beginning. So I think that's what I like showing, that we've been there. We just might people might not know it, but we've been there doing stuff.
Here is one of my favorite qualities in a person.
Honesty.
Here is one of my favorite things about myself.
I'm not scared to try.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What's next? What's next for the Henderson Spirits Group? What's on the horizon?
Well, I'm thinking that this is going to be our year to take our first outside investment, and hopefully just get some great strategic money on board, and really continue to grow the brand. Uh, really try to go deep into some of these markets that we're already in, and really just learn more about our consumers and how we can talk to them and serve them better. And yeah, I just want to keep doing that, and just keep growing the company, and uh, have a chance to start doing some full-time hires and start training up some people in the industry. So whether they stay and grow with me along the way as we grow, great. They grow with me a little bit and go start their own thing, or go work for another conglomerate or Blackleaf or anybody else. At least I'm doing my part to help expose people to the industry. So yeah, so we're just going to try to keep growing, and keep putting that product, keep putting that good product out there.
Yeah, you have a great one too. I mean, great liquid. I had an opportunity to try it when I was in Detroit. Beautiful pack.
Thanks.
If someone wants to go buy your product, where are you at in retail? What states are you guys in?
Right now, you can find us New York, New Jersey, California, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, Alabama, uh, Georgia, Texas, and Michigan.
Okay.
And then we're also available on a reservebar.com. I think they typically ship to maybe around 30 states from there.
And give everybody all your socials and all that good stuff where they can
Sure.
check you out.
So our for Tom Bullocks, it's at Tom Bullocks, TOMBULLOCKS. Birdie Brown is at Sip Birdie, so at SIPBIRDIE. And then we're also just overall at Henderson Spirits Group. And we're actually soon going to be relaunching updated websites at tombullocks.com and also birdiebrown.com. So, yeah, keep eye on us, follow us, let us know where you want us, and if you guys tell your stores and restaurants you're looking for it, and hopefully that word will trickle down to our distributors.
Absolutely. I say this over and over again, and I'm going to keep saying it when I talk to people. Likes are great, but vote with your dollars. Go out and
Hmm.
support these brands.
Absolutely.
Small brands don't become big brands without support. So
Yep.
go out and support these brands, and you'll be in for a treat. So once you finish listening to this, everybody run out to your local store, run to the reserve bar, buy yourself 3 or 4 bottles.
Hmm. Yeah, of mine and yours. You're
Alan,
right. I mean, support, like you
exactly,
said,
exactly. I
support your
appreciate you. I
dollars.
appreciate you.
That's how we make it happen. That's how we. Yep.
Alan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. Looking forward to seeing your growth and continued success. And obviously, if there's anything I can ever do to be of value, you know how to find me.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Let me share a little bit of myself and my story, and continued success to you as well. You guys have phenomenal double gold medal products, and so we're just trying to just keep working and keep striving and keep up with you guys too.
Appreciate you, my brothers. It's a lot of room at the top. We'll be there together.
Let's do it.
Everybody, we appreciate you for listening. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and until next time, cheers.
Cheers.